quick pre-clip. This is what you're going to get. This is the post video resource. I want to show it to you. Literally, this is breaking down everything in the video, okay, from a principle concept, step by step, things that matter, things that don't, next steps. And then obviously right here, social proof, but just showing you throughout the video where to go for what, links, timestamps. We got the prompts in here. And so, yeah, we got prompts and everything that you're going to need. Literally, I gave you everything that I'm using right now. And so now your next steps is to watch this video. It's about to come up. Make sure you get this resource. I promise you, it's literally what we're doing. We're having success with right now. You can change it, do whatever, but it's a base point that will get you results because we are getting results right now. Okay. Getting in front of over 1,200 investors in less than 30 days. And we're going to break it down to you because nobody else is talking about how we have approached it and how we are doing it. So God bless and enjoy. You're going to learn how to use AI to get investors to respond. I'm going to show you literally what I'm doing right now for my clients. I've seen what other people are doing in investor outreach, and we are getting 2x the response because we are using AI and we're doing research. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that because investors are looking for deal flow. They're looking for money. But what you have to do is get in front of them, but while getting in front of them, do it respectfully. Show that you've done a little bit of research, and even better, just find the synergies and the alignments between their past investments and whatever the project is that you are raising money for. So you want to sell your company, you need to raise money, whatever it is. If you can identify the right investors with the right messaging, you're going to have just far better results. So as you can see right here, we're looking at about a 60% positive rate. The number one trick with investors and with cold email right now when you're doing scale, so this is a value nugget, like and follow, subscribe, rerun your lists. So after you run through a list of investors, what you're going to want to do is everybody who did not reply, you are going to want to move them into a fresh campaign because what you're doing is you are rotating the email addresses that are associated to that lead. And so deliverability is getting harder than ever. So even with good deliverability, you're leaving a lot of money on the table and you're missing lead. Okay. And when you use AI, your message is received differently because they don't think that you just printed out a mass generated email to every investor. Like that email was only made for them. And so it's just a different, reciprocity exchange. And that's why we are getting better reply results and sending out more decks than a lot of people who are doing investor outreach. And so one of these you want to be mindful of when you're doing investor outreach too is our client, for example, has 26 investors already. And not a single one of them has any experience with his project. He's in Web3. So when we get our outreach, we're like, hey, okay, because of the projections, the money, the data that is moving people outside of Web3 to invest in their startup, we want to make sure that we don't exclude those kinds of investors as well. So we're doing a broad stroke. We're not necessarily only reaching out to people who have invested in Web3. So you have to understand what that dynamic is going to be and what your objection is and kind of, where the wind is blowing in relation to investor interest and your project and whatever it is you're raising money for. So be mindful of that. And then just like I mentioned before, recycle the investor outreach. So the people who didn't reply, push them in again and run it separately with a new campaign with new emails randomly associated to it. So you disassociate from, that previous campaign sending email address. So that way you get a fresh chance of getting into that inbox. And so now what I'm going to show you right here. So we have a 2.1% reply rate. And then we sent out 83 pitch decks. So far, we have gotten in front of, opportunities 26, 23, 13. So as you can see right here, we're looking about 40 to 60, 70% positive reply rates. It's kind of the area. And 83 pitch decks. And so far, the investors that my client has met with, some of them have had communities and some of them have just been investors themselves. So he's gotten in front of like literally over 1,200 investors so far. And that's because our outreach caught investors who had communities of investors. So when you're doing your outreach, you just want to be mindful as well of what are the one-to-many opportunities for you to get your project and your pitch deck in front of as many people as possible. So not everything is one-to-one. And so that's just something to be mindful of. And when you're doing your targeting and you're doing your research, you can identify a lot of these things. If an investor has a community, they're going to have that listed somewhere associated to their name. And so when you do your AI research, this is how do you get investors interested in your project using AI, okay? And so you can find that information. You can instruct the AI to look for specific sets of criteria to meet, like do they have any companies in their portfolio that match our company? And you just give it the context, okay? And I'm going to show you how I do that. And it's fairly easy. It's just a matter of using the right tech, understanding the right strategy. So like this video right here will get you money. This will get investors to ask you to send you your deck and your booking link. Okay, and literally in less than a month, over 1,200 investors my client has been in front of just by sending out emails using AI. So that is why we're doing this. If you want to get in front of potentially 1,200 investors, more than 1,200 investors within the next month, this is how you do it. This is a proven framework, proven strategy, proven AI, everything. You don't have to get all the information in the world on them. You just need to understand their investment thesis. So if you understand their investment thesis, and so we use Clay, okay? So if you want to send out decks like as many decks as that, and you want to be able to get in front of as many investors as that, you got to use the right tech, and you have to use the right strategies, and you've got to stand out to some degree. Okay, you can't just spray and pray some generalized all about me nonsense. Okay, you don't tell them everything up front. Okay, that's what the deck is for. You want to create curiosity. Okay, so if you tell them enough for them to say no before they even look into it, like they've already associated you to a past experience in some way, shape, or form, and you just missed the opportunity. So that's why you don't send all this information up front. You just send, like in some of our copies, which I'll also show you, we just said, hey, we're a Web3 startup. We have 26 investors. And that's all we said, because we don't want to give them too much context. They can go look and find their own thing, but we want for them to appease their curiosity. We want to force them to have to talk to us. Okay. So you want to try and control the flow of information. Okay. And this is just marketing 101 in general. You need to keep tailing people. You don't give them everything up front or at once. You don't let them be able to make a decision before they have all the context. And if you give them too much context at once, especially in like a really impersonal text only basis, you just have lost a lot of control. And so that is super important as well to be mindful of when you're doing investor outreach. And so in Clay here, I have all my tables. These are all my lists, okay? So when I want to send out a campaign and I want to do research, this is exactly the steps that I take. As you can see right here, I have this column. So if you use NaN, make, Zapier, Clay functions the same. It's left to right. If this, then that. You create rules. You connect different. You can connect subsequences to like a main flow if using NaN. Same concept. You can connect tables. It's just a different interface. It's more for looking at data. It's more for like aggregating and dealing with data. So it's Google Sheets on steroids. And every sale can connect to some sort of API source or to any AI model. And so you can do manual APIs or their native integrations. And so we use it because literally we automate everything. So we have AI book, send the personalized pitch decks, reply to the investors. We literally don't touch it at all. AI books our meetings, replies to investors, writes the copy, sends it. All we do is we create this front end strategy, and this is how you can do it too. So literally your AI just runs half of your outreach. For me, AI runs half of my business. All I have to do is just set it up and just solve, and then let AI do the rest. And that's why we do this, and you can too. So right here in investor profile, all we do is we run a scrape. So it doesn't matter if you're doing it in Clay or something else. You need to get research on these investors. You need to understand what they do, who they are, where they've been. Have they been in the news? Have they been on podcasts? Do they have a book? Do they own a community? What are their portfolios? Like, you need to know all this information, because the more you can speak to that person, the greater likelihood that you're going to stand out amidst all the noise of all the generic, impersonal, cold emails that are just like slamming into people's inboxes. And so by just not doing what everyone else is doing, you'll have success. Literally, I watched someone last year do investor outreach and get crickets. and they didn't listen to me. And all I've done here with my client is exactly what I told him to do, and it worked like a charm. Okay, so as you can see right here, so investor profile right here. So research, and look, we're giving them the website, the LinkedIn, the company. You need to find past investments along with categorizations of those companies, understand their investment thesis. If you could understand their investment thesis, you could just give AI that information, and in the copy, it will automatically correlate that thesis to your project. And if you want to go one layer deeper, is when you find a company that they have in their portfolio that they have invested in that is similar to your company, then you can go one layer deeper with that. And so the message hits differently than say, hey, invest in my company, versus reaching out to them, acknowledging and acknowledging, showing you've done your research, and then correlating that to what you're actually, the objective that you're trying to achieve, which is in this case probably, raise money, or if you want to sell your business, same concept. It's all the same. And then they're find their social channels and profile of the decision maker. So as you can see right here, boom, their website, personal LinkedIn, and then company LinkedIn. Okay. And then right here, when I look into this output, so I got their profile, past investments, is compliant, non-investment firm, podcast. It does all the different research, and it finds out all the different information that you need to know. So if I click right here, got all these different links. Florida Founders Investment Thesis centers on identifying and supporting high potential startups with innovative solutions and scalable business model. The firm focuses on companies based in Florida and the Southeast, aiming to drive regional economic growth and innovation. They invest in B2B SaaS. So this is the information that you need to know. So you know that now if you have a SaaS company, obviously this one is geographically limited, but like that's the kind of stuff that you ask the AI to identify. And so if you're a B2B SaaS, these are the kind of investors that you would want to reach out to. And you can run AI on a list of investors. Obviously, you can go buy like existing lists. So there's like angel lists, like there's a lot of different, niche databases that you can get. Or you just go to LinkedIn, search, and then go and enrich, get their emails, and then reach out to them. And then obviously enrich, do research. So within verticals like fintech, AI, digital health, sports, and entertainment. And cybersecurity from pre-seed to Series B stages. So like it will tell you like these companies, these firms, they let the world know what they're looking for because they're always looking for deal flow. So that's the thing about investor outreach is they're waiting for you to reach out to them. You just have to do it, but you just got to do it right. And that's literally AI does it all for you. It just makes your job 100 times easier. And then so they invest where innovation leads, and then decision maker, dynamic team, da 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 da. And so obviously how you do research, so it's found news articles, it found the pitch book, their pitch book profiles. Like you can tell the AI, like, hey, go check out PitchBook, go check out Crunchbase, go, check out their LinkedIn, go check out their website, like just go search Google, go check out the World Wide Web, and it will go sift all that information. And if you're not familiar with AI right now, different models work for different tasks. So the more extensive models are like multi-step models. So they're going to like go, click, evaluate, process, analyze, output, and then go click. And they're going to go deep with things. And the cheaper models are more lightweight. Think of more like skim reading and like very briefly looking at a page versus being able to like intelligently and with full capacity look at every piece of data that comes its way. So you have to be aware when you're doing this, like how are you using AI? So if you're just doing a snipe and you're going to find out a small detail, you can use like 4.0 mini. It could be super cheap. But if you're doing comprehensive research, now you got to start looking up into like the GPT 4.0, GPT 4.1, or at least Claude 3.5. So you got to get a model that is capable of handling the task that you are giving it. And that's just AI 101, is understand the correlation of the model and the task. But they're coming out with like the multi-model automated, like GPT-5 is going to be that. So your need to have to like strategically figure that out is basically being removed. So they're removing that learning curve, that friction of use right now. But as of today, right now, you have to match the model to the task if you want to be efficient with the financial cost as well as the data that you get. Because if you use a small language model on like a big task, you're not going to get very good results. You basically put something that can only carry 20 pounds, you put 50 pounds on its plate. So just think of a human. If I'm maxing out at 40 pounds or whatever, and you now make it 80, I'm probably gonna something's gonna happen. So just think of that as the same concept. And so then once you get the information, so like you can build these flows in anything. I just use Clay. So that's why I'm showing you this. Investor email sequence. So I prompt. I give it context. I give it all the information. I give it the objective. And I give it the research. I gave it all that research that we just did so it can effectively, through how I prompted it, take that investor's, research, their thesis, past companies, whatever it has. AI now understands how to like prioritize the data points and then leverage it in the messaging. And so that's why you want to use AI in investor outreach, because if you do this at scale, like good luck, this could take you a long time. Like, I mean, I'm just saying I can click this and run through 100,000 investors in one click. Know what their thesis is, who they are, what they do, if they're, aligned with the project that I am, reaching out for a client for, so same applies for you. So yeah, so see how this right here. So like my messaging, I gave it a Jeremy Minor NEPQ disarming. Okay. And then usually I'll put Chris Voss in there because of like negotiation. And I just like have my AIs to be able to play with words a little bit because, I was saying words are psychology, and that's the psychology that sells. It's a psychology that compels people to take an action. You got to make it relevant and you got to make it real, add some scarcity, some urgency, and some pain. And so these are all just important mechanisms. AI does it really good. And so we want ours to be short, so under 60 words, because we're trying to be short and sweet to the point. Okay, we're not trying to, stop them while they're jogging to have a 5-minute conversation and they're like, hey, I was running. Okay, we got to be mindful and respectful of the investor's inbox. Super important. And so it's just, you have to do all this, put this right into here, you create it. When you're using Clay, you can put your prompt here and then click generate, and it will give you a prompt, and it will prompt it all out so you get the output that you are looking for. Okay, see how I have email 1, email 2, subject line. So I don't go more than 3 emails, and if I do, I'll just tack it on at the end as some like, something I put out, or I just update and add something, but generally I don't go past 2, because at that point, you just probably want to recycle the lead and associate with new domains because there's a probability that they're not seeing it. And I ran tests on this, especially with investors, and I've proven for a fact that you need to rerun every investor list that you run, because people who didn't reply, there's a really good chance that they didn't see your email. So just run the same sequence, but just build a new campaign associated to fresh email addresses internally. Okay. And so in my prompt, I say 2 emails. And like I was telling you about before, with the models, I'm using 3.7 Sonnet. Okay. Because I'm having it write 1 email, 2 email, and a subject line, I need to make sure I have a decent model. But even more so, I use Claude 3.7 for everything, and you should too. Okay, Claude 3.7 matches all the benchmarks that we need around copywriting. Its reasoning is just absolutely fantastic, and I've tested it up against GPT, Quen, like all these other different models. And Claude 3.7 just it's the most reliable, most consistent, and I can depend on it. Okay, I can depend on it, and so take my testimony, try it out. 3.7 has not let me down so far as long as I prompt it right. And so, in here I wrote, you are tasked with writing 2 hyper-personalized emails and 1 subject line. And so that's why when I click right here, email 1, email 2, and subject line. And I told it to obviously, make this. So obviously this one right here, the Florida founders or funders, Florida's Web3 opportunity. So it just made this 3 words or less somewhat really specific to the company that we're reaching out to. And so see how it's got email 1 and it's got email 2. Okay. And so it's literally, so I mean, this is the framework that the AIs are coming up with. Like wondering if Florida funders has explored Web3 startups with established investor backing. Your experience as director of investments might appreciate our unique approach that's already attracted 26 investors. So we're identifying that we hit them on the personal level, we hit them on the company level, and then what do? Then our next one is, would sharing our deck be appropriate for your investment thesis in growing smart companies? P.S. Your grow smart, grow fast philosophy aligns perfectly with our scalable model. Curious if you value seeing what convinced our current backers. So remember, we didn't give them everything in this. We just said, hey, we got 26 investors, mentioned Web3, and then we said, hey, would be a terrible idea, share more. And so this is super uninvasive, it's short, it's sweet, it shows personal research, it shows company research, and then it also aligns all that with your project and what you're trying to get funded. Okay, and the strategy is literally getting 2x plus better results than people who are doing it another way. So I'm not saying this is the best way, but it's a better way. And we're just using AI. Okay. And so that's it. And so using Clay, for example, then we're going to push it into the campaign. Okay. And so right here, add the campaign, and then just right back here where I show you, like this right here, wondering if AI content strategies that Fast Interactive might align with our Web3 platform that's already attracted 26 investors. Boom, straight to the point. Your expertise in AI-focused content could provide valuable perspective as we scale. Would sharing our deck for a quick review be something you'd consider, McEwen? Your work with interactive, da, 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 da. Sure, would love to see it. And so that's all this stuff is. And so the thing about all this is you just have to have thick skin. Okay, people are dicks. You can give someone Willy Wonka's golden ticket, but most humans are they're just not the brightest bulb. So you just have to be respectful. You're coming in people's inboxes. They might get responses. People might be negative, but so far investors have just been absolutely awesome because we're reaching out to them exactly like I showed you, using AI, doing research, making them feel seen and heard without throwing everything, creating curiosity, not giving them enough information, giving them just enough information to be interested in learning more. That's why we focus on saying, hey, we've got 26 investors and we're a Web3 startup. This is why, we think that we're aligned with you. Can we send you more information? Okay. Like they can process that entire engagement in less than 30 seconds. See how easy we made it for them? And so instead of sending out all this long form stuff and explaining all this stuff about you, make it about them and see what happens. So text used, Claude 3.7 for copy, clay.com to run this bad boy. And then we run the research prompts, and that one was using ClayGent in Clay with GPT or a different model, a little bit more comprehensive model to get the research. And then we just ran it through instantly. And in this case, we're using personalized videos, okay? So we send them all personalized videos, as you can see right here. So AI generated. See this custom URL created through automation, okay? See this copy right here? This is AI generated. And so then we put the booking link right here, and then we put the pitch deck right down below, and we have a little FAQ right below. And so this is just something that we did to pattern disrupt the investors. But I'm not saying that you have to do this or that this is better, but this is Vena.ai. And this is just something that we're using in our arsenal to generate more leads for our clients by using different strategies and approaching them in a manner that their positive and their negative cognitive biases cannot associate with. And so I hope this helps. If you follow this right here, you will get meetings with investors. I can't guarantee you'll get in front of over 1,200 investors straight on Zoom calls like my client has. But there are investors with communities. There are obviously investors who invest in projects just like yours. And there are people who don't know that they want to invest in your project. And people do diversify. So you need to identify what those are. So God bless. This is how you use AI. This is how we use it for our clients. This is how we've generated massive results. This is how we're beating industry standards for outreach like this. And God bless. I hope this helps. And go get that money, sell your business, and like and follow for more. Later.